Hello, all, and welcome to another special broadcast. I'm going to have to stop saying that because I keep having to do this because the world's gone to hell. Anyway, moving on. So, today's conversation is going to be about the Ukraine and all the mess and explosions and all that fun stuff. We had a conversation a little while ago, and we were pretty sure that, we were crossing our fingers this wouldn't come to this. But there's still some discussion that needs to be taking place and where we think our heads are at. And so I've got a panel here to hash that out. First of all, I'd like to say hello to Mrs. Canuck. Welcome, my love. Mark Dampfully Tired, welcome. Gorilla's Random Thoughts, welcome. John DeMarco, welcome. And Darius, welcome. All right, so introducing first, of course, to the panel, Stone Loki. How are you doing this afternoon, sir?
I am doing great. How are you doing, my friend?
I can't complain too much. No one listens. And kind of our man on the ground, as it were, the random menace, Joseph. How are you doing?
Greetings from the borders of madness. Yeah.
Hey, you get a new moniker. How about that, eh?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
And also welcoming to the panel a gentleman who has just hit a major milestone on his channel, and we are so proud of him. He grinded his ass, he worked his ass off, and it paid off. Welcome, Supreme Heretic Drew. How are you doing this afternoon, sir?
Dude, I am feeling good. It's nice to finally get past 1,000 subs. Thank you to everybody in this fellowship, in this community that has supported or, watched my content, helped out in any way possible, man. I love you guys, and it just shows that the audience is everything. The audience is everything because there are no content creators without a great audience, and you folks have been amazingly great, and I can't say enough as well about people like you and Loki, that have like helped on and off stream, because we've always like kind of watched one another's backs and helped each other, and I appreciate that.
Hashtag beware of the Drew.
Right on.
Hashtag.
And yeah, so it's great, and I want to say to YouTubers, this is how it's done. If you notice, I've got two people on here. My channel has barely hit 500, and these gentlemen still don't go, well, you're below me, so no, I won't come on your channel. They still go, yup, you need me, I'm there. That's how it's done. Following the lead. Just saying. Okay, so on to the topic at hand. I'm gonna open with the most controversial question of the day, and we'll work backwards. So, starting with Loki, do you think we're gonna see the same thing happen that happened in 39? Are we gonna get the ultimatum? Are we gonna get the you have X amount of time to pull out your troops, or else we move?
Nope. Nope.
You don't think so?
No. If Putin felt like he couldn't get away with this, he wouldn't have done it in the first place. No, he knows he can get away with it, and he knows that there was a. I'm not going to get too political here, but there was a dinner here in the U.S. where a discussion happened between the former president of the United States and Germany, where he was talking about money. He's saying, we're spending hundreds of millions of dollars protecting you, and you're making oil deals with someone you are afraid is going to invade you. We are spending all this money protecting you from these people, and yet you are making multi-billion dollar oil deals with these people. This isn't right. Who would do this? This is the most stupidest thing ever. But we also know that the current administration, him and his son, have been involved with a lot of this shit from the very beginning, and deals under the table, and you will do what I say, or we'll pull our money out, yada, yada, yada. They aren't going to do shit. If we were going to do something, it'd already be happening. It's not going to happen. If Putin felt that he couldn't get away with it, he wouldn't have done it in the first place.
That's right.
Joseph, your thoughts on that question?
I'm not going to do any type of predictions because every single prediction that was made was either wrong or subverted. And honestly, he I can tell you that even like the leaders, like the president of the Czech Republic, who was a very pro-Russian one, um, named Putin yesterday basically a dangerous man and lunatic. He called him a lunatic because um, everything that he is doing right now, he is basically unpredictable. Every single
Yeah.
every single thing that is happening right now is unpredictable, and so I'm not going to even go there.
Yeah, I can
What's
understand that.
happening there?
That's understandable. Drew?
Everything was
Oh,
basically sorry. Everything was basically
yeah,
uh,
all rational thought went out the window 5 minutes ago.
completely yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Drew?
Well, see, I always look at it from a wider lens, from a more complex point of view, and I go back to the fact that and I don't want to make this necessarily about COVID, but just bear with me because I'm getting somewhere here. If you pay attention to the prevailing pattern, which was when Australia fell, France, Germany, and then finally Canada, the biggest thing that there's been in common is their governments have been infiltrated with leadership that goes back to the World Economic Forum, the Young Global Leaders Program. All right. Now, we know that there's a widespread infiltration of world governments by the major globalist entity, which, by the way, if you go down that rabbit hole and you do your own research, know this. It's not just the World Economic Forum. Everybody's acting like on Twitter they found some great new thing because the World Economic Forum. They're a visible face of it, but they are not the only tentacle of that beast. Just so you know that when you research it.
Yeah.
Now, going back to what I said, though, there's more complexity involved here. And I always like to ask, well, who benefits monetarily? Well, we know the military industrial complex worldwide certainly does right now, because guess what? Bullets, weapons, bombs, planes, everything is all cranked up again, production wise. So they're making money like crazy there. And then who else benefits? Well, the people that want to use this and say, this can happen in your country. So we should move to this way of thinking, i.e., the Great Reset. So there are ripples down the road. There are ripples in the pond that come out of this. But when you get to the war itself, you have to ask questions like, who really benefits from this? What is the actual motivation to go in to Ukraine? I understand the fact that there are resources. There's also advanced basing opportunities. There's good tactical regions to have bases in if you're Russia. But on second thought, what are the other reasons? Well, here's also another thing that makes me raise an eyebrow. And if anybody is out there that happens to be Ukrainian or of that descent, I make no offense with my next comments whatsoever. But hear me out. Now, that said, there was a big Twitter thread posted yesterday. It was nuked within approximately 30 minutes to an hour of being posted. A gentleman decided to do his due diligence, do research, and pretty much discovered that in the Ukraine, there were at least 15 different U.S. biolab facilities. And I want you folks to understand what that is. We're talking Wuhan level type of labs. Why were those in another country? Why were that many of those in another country? And why were they essentially being in the area they are? And you can understand it from the Russian perspective. Why are they on the doorstep of Russia?
Yeah.
So
Well,
what I'm getting to, Canuck, is this gentleman posted an image of where the facilities are located. On top of that, he posted an image of where explosions were reported in the initial conflict. It was a match. It was a match. So I've seen that somebody reported that at least 11 of the 15 facilities were knocked out of commission. So do with that information what you will, people, but you have to ask the bigger questions of what else is in play here. Because I will tell you from a personal standpoint, when this started, it just didn't sit well with me. Because you can take what the mainstream media is feeding you, and you can try to justify those motivations like, oh, well, this has to be Putin's mindset, or this is the Ukrainian mindset. But look deeper. Ukraine has had a huge government corruption problem for quite an extended period of time. That is exactly why, things were allowed to happen like Burisma. That is why, you have foreign nationals coming into Ukraine, getting on the board of a company and pulling, making millions of dollars and then laundering it on top of that. Yeah. Hunter Biden.
yeah.
So
now when I look at it, and the reason I brought Joseph here is, as much research as we can all do, whether it be Loki, you, myself, we're on the Western side of this.
Right.
And he is basically next door.
Mm-hmm.
So, right? So
literally next door.
For me, it's like I had to have Joseph on panel for the panel to work, because we're really on the outside looking in, and we're pointing and going, well, okay, we got this information, and unfortunately, a lot of our sources are filtered, we'll say.
Well, I don't go through mainstream media at all.
Yeah.
My stuff.
Yeah. Well, neither do I. They're useless. So for me, I find it interesting because I looked at this on the build up, and I thought, okay, well, at first I was in agreement with Joseph. He's not doing a damn thing. This is just a saber rattle, just a test, just to see what we'll do, see if we'll jump. And then the one thing I expected to happen never happened, which I was expecting somebody to come to a table. Mm-hmm. I was expecting more meetings. There was a couple in Germany, but they weren't major, not where I expected it to be. I expected to hear a lot more leaked reports of Biden calling on the old red phone and et cetera, et cetera. And we didn't get any of that.
No.
It was radio silence.
Do you think Biden wants to stop this?
Well, there's that too. But,
I mean, they're sitting there like with glee. All the
I don't know how much Biden is, but some of his backtrackers might be. But right now we're looking at a situation where either A, we're going to have the same situation we had with the Crimea, which is we're going to launch sanctions. The sanctions aren't going to do a lot. They're going to do a lot of damage financially, but they're not going to do anything to stop the tanks.
Have you heard of any American company saying we're shutting our doors until all this is over in Russia? We're not gonna no. You're not gonna hear any of that. You're not gonna get any of that from the American companies, whether it's McDonald's, Burger King, Pizza Hut, whatever is going on over there. They're not gonna shut their stuff down and close their doors. That's not going to happen. There are no sanctions that are going to dramatically hurt Russia here. Especially not any that this administration is going to put forward.
No. Well, and this was kind of my point. When, and Joseph, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but when they took Crimea, they did the sanction route, and it really didn't do a whole lot of squat. It did some, but nothing major.
The sanctions, just to be here with some statements. I'm not going to go into any type of conspiracies or what's happening
I get
in the
it.
background.
That's
I'm
why I
not
have
going
different
in
people on
there
the panel.
because
It's different viewpoints.
I would have to
totally
fact check
understand,
all those things just to be able to respond to those. What I want to say in terms of the sanctions, they are toothless. Basically, if you the problem with the sanctions that were put on Russia when they annexed Crimea, basically were looked upon as like, let's hit some people, some specific people, like the oligarchs or some politicians, but but only them, nobody else.
Yeah.
This is the big problem. The sanctions that would make some sense is really to freeze all the assets that the politicians, the oligarchs, and basically all the people surrounding Putin, including him and basically his closest ones, freeze all their assets, freeze and basically what they didn't want to do, but Russia does it with their sanctions. Basically, tell all the children of the politicians who are studying in France, in the UK, in the United States, you have 24 hours and go home. Hit them where it hurts. The problem right now with the sanctions, monetary sanctions, is
it hurts the people, not the.
It will hurt the people. It will hurt the people, and I will give you shortly an example. But what I want to say, if you freeze all the assets, if you close all the banks and everything, question is how much black money do those people own? Is the one thing. How many have their assets in cryptocurrency? That is basically unmonitored by governments or whatever. So will that help? Not really. The only thing that you can do is really what you mentioned, really like stop all the businesses, and eventually what was mentioned very often, and everybody wants it, is to pull them out of the SWIFT. But for example, I can tell you we can't allow something like that, and unfortunately our country is dependent on the Russian gas and oil. Extremely dependent. I'm not saying it's not possible to get it from different sources, and probably not even that much more expensive, but the infrastructure is not existing, the contracts are not there, and we have maybe like resources for something like 90 days. So we cannot pull the plug on SWIFT, because the moment we pull the plug on an option how to pay for the gas, they will pull the plug on the gas. And we're done.
Logic
we're done,
dictates,
basically. So unfortunately, many of the countries that are dependent on those resources from Russia indirectly are paying for the military, for the Russian military. So right now this is the question: what sanctions will make sense? Because when you look at it, something like how Ukraine can be helped is with money, humanitarian help and weapons, but not a single soldier, not a single military personnel can cross the borders. Yes, because there are only two ways how a military person can cross the borders. When you look at the NATO, where I'm so happy that we are part of the NATO, because otherwise we'd be the next one. You know,
Yeah.
we are such a tiny country that we would be like the next one. Like, come on, they did it in '68, so we haven't. We have
You have a recent memory, yeah.
we have a recent memory of it. So definitely. So I can tell you that only if there was, it's enough if one grenade lands in our backyard from
Yeah.
Russia, and then NATO can cross the borders and say, okay, we are now protecting a NATO member, Article 5 of the treaty. Yeah. Or there would have to be something like UN mandate with those, I don't know how it is called. We call it like blue helmets, which is basically, once again, only humanitarian help coming from the military that could go to Ukraine. So right now there is not much that the world can do, because when you look at what Putin said basically yesterday morning for my in my time zone, was that if somebody crosses their lines from the Western world, they will see something that they've never seen before.
Yeah.
Those were his exact words. What did the world not see before? Nuclear attack. So this is the biggest threat.
Yeah, it's the threat, but I can't see him doing it. Because here's the problem. For me, when it comes to nuclear, and I'll get back to my original point in a minute, but as far as the nuclear question, I can't see it, because if a nuke were to be launched from Moscow, Russia, wherever, Siberia, name your pick, submarine off in the Black Sea, whatever.
Yeah.
The response would be so overwhelming. It makes no sense to go nuclear, because if you go nuclear, you're dealing with Britain and the United States right out of the gate.
And the U.S. calls it MAD. It's called mutual assured destruction.
Yeah.
We launch a nuke at us or one of our allies, and we blanket the entire planet with nuclear explosions. That's pretty much what has kept people from using.
It's one of those trump cards that, pardon the pun, that will never be used. And if it is used, it'll be used in a very small way, because once one is launched, I mean, you have 12 submarines across the world that can probably pinpoint Moscow in a computer and go, it doesn't exist anymore. And that would be the response. So the nuclear option, I think, is a threat. But it's not. I mean, if Russia had tanks on either side of Moscow and they were going down one way or the other, maybe I see it as a last ditch. We're going down with a bang. But as long as there's hope that, Russia's on the winning side of this thing, no, I don't see them.
I see it as well. Like, this is the most improbable scenario. But Putin spoke. Did you listen how he explained why he basically attacked? Attacked Ukraine, because he wants to get rid of the Nazis that are there. Can I use actually question? Can I use this type of word?
Yeah, you can use the term.
Okay. The Nazis in the government, and basically it's a mission of peace. And I immediately said, okay, if this is a mission of peace, it is really like effing for virginity. It's literally
it's a wonderful way to do it. But back to my original question that I posed to everyone else. Do I see a 1939 proclamation? You have X amount of time to get the hell out of Ukraine, or war will be declared.
Nope.
And the
European leaders
answer,
see it as like
as
this.
sad as it is to say, is no.
I can
Because
tell you one thing. What many of the European leaders said, that if he is not stopped in Ukraine, he will go further. That's the problem.
yeah,
And when you go back to my region, and when you look at the Czechoslovakia in 1938,
yes,
how it started, it was basically Hitler wanted a western part of the Czech Republic because there was living a German minority,
mm-hmm.
and he said that this German minority is mistreated.
Yeah,
Doesn't it sound a little bit familiar
yeah,
about the
yeah. I
Russians
was
in
just about
Crimea?
to. I was just about to get there in my secondary comments. Yeah, the coalition between 39. That's why I pointed it out right out of the gate, and modern day. If you replace the word Ukraine with Poland,
Oh yeah, like the 1st September 1939. But this is what he did in 2014 with Crimea.
yeah,
Basically, right now, the situation is slightly different, because the type of blitzkrieg that he did with Crimea back in 2014 is not happening right now, because he was basically preparing the whole action with all the military in the southern border of Russia, in Belarus. When you look at the map, how it looks like, he was preparing it basically for many months. But the problem is the Ukrainian army, and I mentioned it in the last stream, was preparing as well in the 8 years. Basically, they increased their military by tenfold,
yeah,
and still they have something like the military of approximately 200,000 compared to what Russia has, around 800,000.
yeah.
So you cannot compare
It's a
those two,
mismatch of all mismatches. Yeah,
especially when you look at the Russian Air Force, which is huge compared to what Ukraine has.
yeah,
So, and even when you are attacking a country, I was listening to a military expert, and he said, if you are the attacker, you need to be 3-1.
yeah.
Um,
Depending on
it's
which
still
war you're talking about. In World War
what
One, it was 10-1.
10-1, but right now he said it is like 3-1 if you are attacking a country. But the problem is 800,000 or 700 something, almost 800,000 to 200,000 is the 3-1 ratio easily. You know,
Yeah.
so the question is really what will happen there, and it doesn't look very good for Ukraine, and I find it
No.
ironic that he wants to clear Russia from the Nazis and from weapons, demilitarize Ukraine. Basically,
Yeah.
those are his words. Yeah, like
Right.
what country would like to be demilitarized? Because he doesn't, and because he doesn't want to have a neighboring country that is a NATO member. Hello, if you occupy Ukraine, we are there. Poland
Yeah.
is there.
The minute he occupies,
Everybody is
everybody on
basically,
your border is now a NATO member. You dumb dumb.
yeah, pretty much.
You have no buffer.
Yeah.
Uh, the part that I was going to make point out was in 39. Britain and France came together and stated that if you do not pull your troops out, and I can't remember the exact verbiage, I think it was 48 or 24, I think it was 48 hours, war will exist between us. And Germany called the bluff because they felt it was a bluff, because up until this point, it had been a bluff. They had said this far, no further. He went further. This far, no further. He went further. This line, no further. He went further. Then he got to Poland.
Yeah.
And they declared war. However, as history tells us, that didn't save Poland.
No.
Right? That didn't save Poland. And I see the same thing to a degree happening here. The Western countries, or the allies in this case, NATO, is going to do a lot of saber rattling. The troops are going to move, but they're going to move to the NATO countries.
They
Mhm.
can't go further. They can't go further.
They
That's
can't
the
go
problem.
further, but that's where the line's going to be drawn.
Yeah, pretty much.
The line in the sand is going to be drawn there. You go one step further, and well, World War III.
It's basically you have okay, World War III is one scenario, and then you have two scenarios. Either everything will settle down in at negotiating tables. Yeah, there will be negotiations. There will be some treaties. There will be some temporary peace or whatever. Or option 3, Ukraine will fall. Easy as that. There are no other scenarios.
The way I see this playing out, and I really hate to be to say this and be this pessimistic, Ukraine is going to be part of Russia by the end. There is no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Ukraine is going to be part of Russia.
Like I said at the beginning of this, if Putin didn't think he could get away with it, he wouldn't have done it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You know, just an interesting point. Back when Trump was in, you know, a lot of the reason that Xi didn't pull the trigger on Taiwan and Putin didn't pull the trigger on Ukraine was, to them, they didn't know if Trump was crazy enough, because he told them straight up, I don't have no problem hitting Moscow, and I have no problem, hitting Beijing.
Yeah.
Well,
and I don't even think it comes down to who's a better leader. It's what we're looking at right now with Putin.
But the fear of him
is
being
unpredictable.
But the fear of him being a wild card, he just might be
the unpredictability of the leader.
It kept them in check.
Yeah.
And the thing is, as soon as he was out, the old guard returned. They knew Biden was a puppet, number one, and they also knew that Biden was weak. There was nobody.
In a lot of ways, the entire UN is weak. If you think about it, for years.
Well, the UN.
So NATO standing up. The problem NATO has right now, and Joseph has pointed this out several times. Ukraine is not a NATO country. Well, it is on the border of NATO countries. Okay,
but you know that the UN is all basically globalist, right?
Well, yes, but we're not going to get into that today. But the NATO countries that border Ukraine, they're the ones that, if they got it, like if they unfortunately redid a 1939-40 roll through and went through Slovakia, the Czech Republic, and then started up towards Poland, that would force the hand of NATO. Mm-hmm. I don't see them going any closer. Now, depending on who you have in power in the United States, we have seen them tell the UN and NATO, what's that? You don't agree with us launching an attack? We're going to do it anyway. Have a nice day. You're either with us or you're against us. Go away. That's still kind of on the table, but not, because I don't see them doing it. To put this into perspective, if you look back at the 70s or the 80s, and if this would have happened, B-52s would already be in the air,
Mm-hmm.
right? They'd already be in the air, and they'd be doing what they were designed to do.
Well, if it would have been Reagan, yeah, he'd have.
Yeah,
And
right.
we also wouldn't be sitting there sharing every detail of our plans with China and watching China turn around and tell Russia everything we're telling them.
Oh well, they 100% have a backdoor agreement because listen, the Xi and Putin already agreed. If you pay attention to timing, they were nice enough to let the Olympics end before they went in. That that tells you all you need to know right there. And then okay, and I'm calling it now. Within the next 30 days, there, because there's already yet another incursion the other day into Taiwanese airspace, an even bigger one. China's going to be on the move with troops. I didn't promise you that they're going to go into Taiwan.
It's
sure.
possible.
That's
been a hot button topic for years.
That's a certainty. They know they can do it right now.
They could have done it years ago too.
But
the problem I have right now is I look at this and we can sit there and we can say that is that referendum going to come down where they go, okay, look, you get your troops out or we're coming in. Not likely.
No.
In all likelihood, hold. In all likelihood, they're going to turn around. They're going to say no. They're going to load up the borders with NATO troops. They're going to stay on that border. And unfortunately, the Ukraine is going to pay. They're going to end up part of Russia. It's just the way it's going to end. The only other thing I can see happening is if it would take something major. Now, there were a couple of things that kind of piqued my interest this morning when I was looking through the headlines. And one was a Japanese freighter got sunk. Well, attacked, set on fire, rockets launched at it in the Ukraine, which won't sit well with the Japanese. There's not a damn thing they can do about it, but there's that. It'll be like Joseph said, will he stop at the Ukraine? Is he crazy enough? I mean, Putin, as nuts as Putin is, and as indoctrinated and as I don't know what else to call him. The question I'll ask Joseph, do you really think he will go full Stalin?
No. With this, definitely. Just imagine NATO is here just because to prevent something that happened in World War II.
Yeah.
So basically, even if you have something like 700,000 or 800,000 men strong military, NATO, if the whole wrath of NATO would go after Russia, they stand zero chance.
Yeah, and they know
it would be World War III, definitely.
Yes. Yeah, well, because you'd have the alignment. You'd have, just off the top of my head, you'd have Russia, China, North Korea.
And I'm not sure that China would.
Well, see, and that's the wild card. To be honest, that is the wild card, because China right now, as much as they like to do a lot of backroom deals, as Drew has said, and can they afford it? Because if Russia and China are two different beasts.
Well, here's the thing, Loki, because I know you just mentioned their monetary status. They got a lot of money, but here's the problem. Their actual economy, China's actual economy sucks.
Yeah.
You know, in
Without export, they're tanked.
in the end, they really can't afford it.
No.
Now the thing is, militarily, they have enough
They
units.
have like multiple millions of
Mhm.
soldiers.
Yeah, they have enough.
They have enough cannon fodder.
They have
But
enough units to do stuff, but
Yeah.
they
But
can't.
the problem is,
finance
and if you need evidence that China is gun shy, how long has that ceasefire happened in North Korea?
It's not.
Because
It's not
if
just
anybody
China
thinks
here.
it's North Korea pulling the trigger on that sum, you got another thing coming.
But
The
it's not
orders
just
come
China.
from China.
That's the thing.
I got
It's-
news for you. Those orders were made in China.
It's not
Right?
just China though. You've got Russia doing what it's doing too. And
Yeah.
if they are as pally slapping each other on the back as they appear to be,
Yeah, right now.
all it takes is an agreement. Hey, we take it out, we take America out, and then we carve up the rest of the world for ourselves.
We you know, right now, Loki, you got to look at them as a tag team, because that's basically
right.
what they are. Because, like I said, it goes back to what I was saying. They waited specifically till after the Olympics was done to do what they were doing. This indicates that there's some sort of agreement in place with China. You know, so I would not doubt the fact that you know what Loki said is a certainty, and there's also the thing, you know, out of everybody that put sanctions on Russia, China actually relaxed the restrictions on wheat and things like that for Russia. So they're already, that shows you there's cooperation. So,
Yeah, well, there's always been cooperation between. I mean, you can go right back to the conflict that I just mentioned.
yeah, but there's a direct agreement right now.
Yeah.
They have an understanding at the moment.
I mean, if you depending on who you talk to, Mao wouldn't have gone into North Korea if it hadn't been for Stalin. But that's another story for another day.
But the thing is,
oh wait, hold, Joseph, you were about to cut in.
I just
kinda
wanted to say
overrode
that
you.
basically the same with the Olympics happened in 2014. There is always basically February is the last month where you can go and cross basically attack Ukraine, because otherwise the ground melts, because the winter will be over and the tanks couldn't go over. And basically the same thing happened in 2014. And where was the Olympic Games in 2014? The Winter Olympic Games? Sochi, Russia.
Yeah.
So this is the one thing. But by the way, China was always also said that they don't like Russia attacking Ukraine, and they were very political about it. The whole statement, I watched it. It was very because they cannot say that they agree with the separatist groups in Donbass, in the eastern part of Ukraine, because China has the problem with Tibet, with the Uyghurs, the Muslim minority. Yeah. Then they have now problems with what is it called? Taiwan. You know. So if they agreed, like, this is okay for us, that you want to free the separatist nations, they would basically give a blank card to those regions. Like, okay, so you agree with us separating from you.
Yeah.
And
There's
it would create
undercurrent,
an internal conflict in China. You know?
So to me, and I do want to clarify one thing I did say. I mentioned that, is Putin crazy enough? I want to stress this. I'm not saying Putin is crazy. I'm not saying that Putin is off his rocker and, you know, sitting there with the jubes. By that I mean, is he willing to risk it?
well, let's put this in perspective. The guy is known to be a nationalist, big time. He's all about Russia and Russia first. He's also traditional he's ex KGB.
Yeah.
So there is possibly that sort of urge to want to go and just from territorial expansion standpoint, regain the old territory. I understand that, and I wouldn't put that out of the realm of possibility. Matter of fact, I'd say that's a likelihood. Now, think about it for him. Even with the other stuff, even though I know that it's a bit rabbit hole-ish that I laid out earlier, well, that's just icing on the cake for him, because even if he does, even if this is more a move out of wanting to go expansionist, it's the icing on the cake. Oh well, it just happens to screw over the globalists, and oh well, it just happens to make the U.S. look bad because it exposes the rampant corruption that they have. You know, so he's gaining all over the place in all
Yeah.
those
So
areas.
I wouldn't call him. I don't think to dismiss Putin as crazy is a
No.
smart thing.
No,
I think
don't
he's
think it's crazy at
calculated.
all. Mhm.
He's calculated, but he's of one mind. Now, the question I have for Yosef, because of all the people on this panel, Yosef is gonna be able to answer this. We know what his pattern is with the Crimea, now with the Ukraine. He comes up with a reason for his troops to move in. I.e., well, they want to be part of Russia. We're just bringing them in. We're just bringing them home. Or there is the Nazi leaders in power, and they are majorly military, and they're talking about going NATO. I can't have that. I'm going in. I'm bringing them back to the fold. I'm going to get rid of all the corruption. I'm going to get rid of this. I'm going to get rid of that. On the states that border Russia, where, if you had to pick one, if he was going to go that route, where would he have the best foot to go? Either they want to be part of us and you're just not letting them. Their government's corrupt, so I'm coming in to straighten the house.
Baltics.
Baltic
Which?
Sea.
Baltics.
Baltics?
Basically Black Sea area. Basically naval attack.
Okay.
Naval attack.
So
That's even what the strategists say, that this would be probably his first route, going the direction Baltics, because there are certain weak points. So that would be probably the route that he chose. And once he has complete control over Ukraine, he has basically an open road.
an
to
open
that.
road, yeah.
An open road.
Because that's what I wanted to know, because he doesn't seem to just attack. He's got to have, as odd as it sounds, he's got to have the save
Justification.
face speech, right?
You know what?
He's got to have the justification for doing so. So to just blindly go in and attack somewhere isn't his style. He has a justification, whether it makes any sense.
But the
to us
justification makes no sense, because it is pulled out of his butt.
Yeah, but of course. But I mean,
because there are no Nazis in the
No.
Ukrainian government.
no.
Because you have right extremists in every single country. You have
Yep.
we have them in our parliament. French, Germans, Germany has them in the parliament.
Yep.
So they are everywhere.
Yeah.
Basically, so and I'm talking really about the extreme right wing nuts.
Yeah.
Yes?
So now
So-
the next question.
Can I
Yep,
finish?
carry on.
And the second point that he brought up, why he is freeing, why he has a peace mission in Ukraine, is because Ukraine is basically not a nation. It was just a Lenin's creation. It was just a Lenin's creation, the whole country, and he set up all the borders, and this is how he created, and this is basically something that comes from the communism in the early 20th century.
Yeah.
And basically they are not a country, they are not a nation. It's basically the statement that Hitler was so once again parallels.
Mm-hmm.
In German it was Volk ohne Raum, which means nation without space, or
Mm-hmm.
living space. Yeah. uh, it was so beautifully quoted in Star Trek 6, when Chang said it during the dinner, where Kirk immediately said, "Okay, this is Hitler 1938."
Yeah.
If you remember that scene,
Yeah.
so it is exactly that reasoning that he
Yeah.
brought on
It's
to
the
the
same
table.
rationale.
So
It's
so so
yeah.
so 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 if you go with this rationale, what will be the rationale for the other countries? Because nobody's buying it.
Yeah.
Even
Well,
what
of
he
course,
said now,
I'm not saying that
nobody's.
it's a legit saying. I'm just saying his pattern is thus, right? He
Yes,
has his
yes.
holier than thou art reason for doing so, right? Um, we look and go, you said what, dum dum? But at the same time, it's right. It's like he's gonna have a reason. Now, here's the counter question: what do you think it's gonna take for Germany to go? You've gone too far, buddy. Sorry,
Nothing.
roll.
Nothing. Germany is, but I was even. There is one thing that he didn't count on. One thing that Putin didn't count on is when he attacked Crimea in 2014. It took the EU and NATO and UN weeks until they said we don't like it.
Mm-hmm.
Now the answer came immediately. What I was surprised, and many people were surprised, that Germany cut off the pipelines.
Yeah.
They said that they are not going to open Nord Stream 2. So that was a little bit surprising, but Germany is still scarred from World War II, so they are
Yeah.
not going to do a single thing by themselves. They will wait
No.
for all the mandates that will come from NATO or the UN.
Yeah.
I know that the US is right now sending something like 7,000 troops to Germany.
Yeah. Well, okay. Let me ask you. Let me rephrase the question.
Yeah,
So, not for Germany to take a stand on its own, because that would be
no,
silly.
that
What I mean is, for if the United States went, okay, we're sending a battle group. We need a contingent from your military to join said battle group. How long? What would it take? Do you think for Germany to go? What do you need?
one order. They are prepared. They said
Okay.
the one order, and one country that we cannot discount, Turkey.
Mm.
Think about Turkey, who is also a member of the NATO, and they are on the other side of the map.
Yeah. War on two fronts. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and they have military bases, U.S. military bases as well. They have NATO bases. They have the infrastructure is there. So Turkey would be a focal point
Of a future conflict. Yeah.
of a future, not necessarily future conflict. It would be definitely a launching point
Yeah.
for
Staging area
attacks.
/ launching
Yeah.
point. Yeah. Um. Now, uh, the other question, and I'll get to my other panelists in a second. But again, you're there, so it's kind of I kind of lean on you a little bit more. If you turn, what are you? I guess in these situations, you're always going, well, we're okay for now. We're okay for now. You turn on your news, you hear something. What is the one thing you hear other than tanks have rolled into Slovakia? What is that trigger that's going to be like, oh shit?
You know what? There is already one oh shit, tiny oh shit happening right now. It's the fugitive crisis.
Okay.
That's the humanitarian point. We have the eastern borders, and basically, give me a second here. Settings, bam. Okay. When you look here, start camera. Can you
Yep.
bigify
Oops. Dang it. Hit the wrong button.
the other way?
I'm getting good. All right,
Yeah.
there we go.
So when you look at it, this is Slovakia. Literally, the country is slightly over 300 miles wide. Yeah. So this is us, and this whole thing is Ukraine. Yeah. This is Crimea here.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when you look at it, this is our border to Ukraine, which is something like 100 kilometers. So something like what, 70 miles?
Yeah.
Uh,
Give or take.
give or take, something like that. And this is a nation of 40 million. We are a country of 5 million. Of course, there is then Poland, there is Hungary, where they can all cross the borders. But this is what is happening right now. That people are coming over, and we have probably capacity for something like 50,000 people. So this is the oh shit situation,
Yeah.
right? The oh shit situation is as well that here in this area, once again, this is the borders, and somewhere in this area where yesterday here was like when you see like all those red dots,
Yeah.
it means this is a live map what's happening in Ukraine. There is an airport that was bombed,
Okay.
which is something like 80 miles away from the eastern border. So this is the oh shit, if you're asking me. That it is that the fights are really right next to us. You know.
Yeah.
So that's the situation. From what I see right now, the fights are once again here, like in the part of this is Chernik. This is one of the largest cities here. This is what here. This should be Kiev, and basically you have troops in Belarus, which is nothing else, just another Soviet country. In the meantime, Belarus is completely dependent on Russia, and Belarus is something like 50 miles away from Kiev, the capital city of Ukraine. So this is the problem that I see. Those are like the biggest threats
Yeah.
to me that I see. Because
Okay.
once again,
Fair enough.
I live here in this part. Literally, I can tell you that something like an F-16, yeah,
Yeah.
it starts the engine here, somewhere here. The engines are not hot when they are crossing the borders.
Yeah.
Yeah. The country is so small, so it is the oh shit situation is literally. I'm so happy that this small part of the world is under the protection right now, because this is the only thing that is basically stopping Putin basically crossing the region and going over.
Okay.
Yeah. And
Makes
you have
sense.
Slovakia, Czech Republic, and there you have Germany.
Yeah.
That's it.
But like, so now I guess I'll let my other two also start with Loki. Well, do you have any comments on what we've kind of touched on here?
Nothing I haven't already said. If you want to go to Drew, you can.
Yeah. Drew?
No, I still think there's a lot of factors involved, but just from the standpoint of what Joseph was talking about, yeah, I mean, at least the people, and I say this for the human side because, it's very important for the citizens. It's good, and especially the way that they're set up, insulated at the moment, is good for the citizens of these other countries. So that is at least a buffer and a safeguard. I don't think that Putin's going to step outside of that, because it's basically suicide for Russian forces. I mean, he's gonna get pretty much everyone killed, and I don't think military leader wise he's that dumb.
No.
I mean, you're not just gonna, for the sake of expansion. Oh, I'm just gonna shoot my shot, and if all my shit gets destroyed, all my shit gets destroyed. Hey, he's not gonna do that. If anything, I think it stops at Ukraine, but I still think Ukraine's going to fall, because he is going to try to install
At least a puppet government.
Yeah, he's going to try to install a pro Russia government, and also because and I can understand it from one side of it. He'd rather have a pro Russia government than
pro NATO. Yeah.
Than pro NATO or pro globalist, whichever you prefer. He doesn't like either of those. So
yeah. So I'm going to end this by asking Yosef one last question. Have they started, like, has NATO itself started going, we're with you kind of thing? Don't worry, we're here. We're not going anywhere. We're not going to let this happen here. Don't worry about, like, have they started that?
Yes, immediately. It was immediate. Immediate. Like, it came from the. I keep forgetting the name of the general that is basically leading NATO right now. He was like, okay, of course, you just say that you need troops, and we will send the troops.
Yeah. So
we will.
Is already on the reassuring path of he steps one foot in our territory, and we will kick his ass all the way back to Moscow. Is kind
of at least proclamatory. Everything is in place. So I only hope, really, as well for me, because I would look silly in a uniform, that it doesn't go that route. That we would need something like calling the how do you call it, like when the civilians need to basically enter the military.
For conscription.
Yeah. So honestly, this is the one thing that I hope will never happen.
I agree with you. All right, so I want to say a quick thank you to Loki, Drew, Yosef, of course, who as this goes forward, I hope that I can draw on you guys to come back if we need to reconvene and go, well, we were wrong, or we were right. Yay, it stopped at Ukraine. Or oh, darn it, he's really gone and done it, hasn't he? If we have to come back and talk on this topic again, I want to thank my panelists. They've been very informative. They've been I want to thank them all, even though, some people have, different opinions from different parts of the world. We're able to come here. We're able to sit. We're able to talk. We don't shout each other down. We don't say, well, you don't know what the hell you're talking about, blah, 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 all that garbage. We can come together as 4 people from, 2 from the United States, 1 from Slovakia, 1 from Canada, and we can have an educated conversation about something that is affecting our world. I want to thank the chat especially. There was nothing crazy put in the chat. There was. I want to thank you guys.
It was a good discussion in the chat. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I want to thank everyone for that. That means a lot to me, because you know what? At the end of the day, we all have our own biases. We have our own opinions, and we should be able to have that right, and we should be able to express that feeling. I live in Canada right now, and some of that is, but I won't go there today. So with that, I want to say thank you all. Keep Ukraine in your prayers. They've got a rough road to hoe, as they always say.
Yeah, pray for the citizens
Yes.
And
their
the innocent
families.
people that get stuck in these messes. We can sit there and look from a bird's eye view and say what's politically moving this and what globally is moving everything, but unfortunately it is men, women, and children who get stuck in the middle of this chaos,
Yes, there's always a human cost.
Yeah.
and it is them that suffer, and it is them that pay the price. So keep them in your prayers, folks. We hope them all the best, and we hope that they are able to one day, if not tomorrow, be free again. But unfortunately, I don't see that happening anytime soon. And I'll just point out quickly a little bit of self-promotion here. Tomorrow at 4 o'clock, I will reconvene another panel, and we will discuss the chaos that is Canada. But that'll be tomorrow. So for today, once again, thank you to my panelists. I greatly appreciate each one of you coming on, each one of you sharing your opinions and your knowledge. I greatly appreciate it. I greatly appreciate the civil discord that we've been able to have here today. And with that, thank you, and take her easy, folks.